I'm Heather Childers. Always appreciate you being with us. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. We do start right away with this Fox News alert for you, though. There's some new questions this morning about the motives of an admitted killer who screamed Allah Akbar as he gunned down 3 people on the streets of Fresno.
Police say the self-proclaimed Black Jesus was motivated by race and not terror as he hunted for victims.
Jackie Banez is here now for us this morning with some disturbing social media posts and what they may reveal about the gunman. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, Heather and Abby. Well, chilling new details emerging about the man police say admitted to shooting and killing 3 white men in broad daylight. Social media accounts for Corey Ali Muhammad, you see him right there, painting a frightening picture, even foreshadowing his violent attack.
Death and destruction, murder and mayhem. That's what you get when you're with me, you see.
This post from early March contains the phrase Allah Akbar, the same thing police say the gunman was shouting as he was taken into custody. However, investigators say the murderous rampage was racially motivated and not terrorism.
This is solely based on race, and it has nothing to do with terrorism, in spite of the statements that he made. He did clarify that the reason he had made that statement, in the event that anything did happen to him, that he was in fact pledging his allegiance to God for protection.
But as details continue to emerge, security official Jim Hansen tells our Dana Perino that's exactly what this was.
Of course it's terrorism. The only question is which particular strain. And in this case, it seems like there are 2. We have radical Islamic terrorism with his Allahu Akbar, and we also have black nationalism.
Muhammad fired 16 shots in just 2 minutes, starting by killing a passenger in a PG&E truck. Seconds later, he shoots and misses a man before killing another. He then reloads his revolver at a bus stop, shooting 2 people and killing 1. All 3 victims are white. Police had been searching for Muhammad since last Thursday when they say he killed a Motel 6 security guard. Now this morning, he's charged with 4 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Abby, Heather?
Yeah, a lot still to be investigated with that.
Just horrible. Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks.
Well, we are heading for a runoff in one of the most watched political races since the election.
A Democrat, Jon Ossoff, failing to flip Georgia's 6th district and will now face Republican Karen Handel in a high-stakes special election.
Griff Jenkins is live for us in Washington with new reaction from President Trump. Griff, good morning. What are you hearing?
Good morning, Heather and Abby. It looks like money can't buy you happiness, at least not yet. Despite raising more than $8 million, 30-year-old Democratic newcomer Jon Ossoff failed to flip a seat that he hoped would not only be a big win in a deep red district, but also serve as a referendum on President Trump.
There is no doubt that this is already a victory for the ages. We will be ready to fight on and win in June if it is necessary. There is no amount of dark money, super PAC, negative advertising that can overcome real grassroots energy like this.
Ossoff came within 2 points of winning in a race that saw 11 GOP candidates and now heads into a runoff with Republican Karen Handel. Here's a look at the final results. You see there Jon Ossoff 48.1%, Karen Handel with 19.8%, Bob Gray 10.8%, the next Republican, and so on. Handel vows to aggressively fight on for a seat that has been held by Republicans since the Jimmy Carter days and once belonged to Newt Gingrich.
We cannot let an untested, unproven, inexperienced ally of Nancy Pelosi steal a seat that has been held by the great leaders like Tom Price, Johnny Isakson, and Newt Gingrich. So we have a lot of really hard work ahead of us, and it starts now.
The race garnered national attention in the ire of President Trump, who tweeted this at midnight. Despite major outside money, fake media support, and 11 Republican candidates, big R win with runoff in Georgia. Glad to be of help. The majority of Ossoff's war chest came from out of state. Only about 1 in 20 donors were from Georgia, and even actor Samuel L. Jackson made a cameo. The runoff takes place in June. And a quick program note, Karen Handel, the Republican there, will be on Fox and Friends later today in the 8 o'clock hour.
Very good.
Yeah. We'll be watching that race closely.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that after this next commercial break, so stay with us for that. Thank you. Well, former President George H.W. Bush, meantime, is back in the hospital with a mild case of pneumonia. The 92-year-old was admitted on Friday for a bad cough that was keeping him from getting proper rest. He's being treated in the same Houston hospital where a serious case of pneumonia landed him back in the ICU there back in January. A spokesman for 41 says that he is in good spirits, but he will remain hospitalized until he regains his strength.
Vice President Mike Pence warning North Korea not to test the United States, promising a, quote, overwhelming and effective response to any use of conventional or nuclear weapons. Those fierce words spoken aboard the USS Ronald Reagan as the vice president continues his Asia-Pacific trip in Japan. The vice president assuring our ally that all options are on the table when it comes to threats from that rogue nation. This as new video is surfacing of North Korea celebrating a founding father's birthday, destroying a U.S. city in flames. And the U.S. Air Force taking swift action, intercepting Russian bombers off the coast of Alaska. The two foreign jets detected just 100 miles south of Kodiak Island in international airspace. Air Force jets flying beside the bombers as they changed course and flew away. This is the first interception of Russian aircraft off the West Coast in nearly 2 years.
Well, an illegal immigrant who was once protected under the Dreamer Act is suing President Trump for being deported. Lawyers for 23-year-old Juan Montez say that he was granted extended DACA status until 2018 and should never have been deported to Mexico in February. But Homeland Security says that his status expired in 2015 and there's no record of renewal. And they also say that Montez was caught illegally hopping a fence at the U.S. border, immediately terminating his Dreamer status.
Buy American, hire American. President Trump keeps his promise to look out for the American worker with a new executive order.
Cheryl Casoni from our sister network, Fox Business, is here to explain for us exactly what that means. Good morning, Cheryl.
Hey, good morning, guys. Well, President Trump ordered federal agencies to begin to tighten the H-1B visa program by detailing his Buy American, Hire American executive order while speaking at Snap-on. That's a tool manufacturer based in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
The American people voted to end the theft of American prosperity. Together, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that more products are stamped with those wonderful words, made in the USA.
Well, in addition to reviewing how H-1B visas are handed out, which right now is a lottery system, they want to change that. This order also wants to crack down on fraud and make the designation for awarding the visas merit-based, really going for those high-level, high-skilled workers. Now, the president is also looking to make changes in how the U.S. government purchases products and materials for federal projects. That could be good for steelmakers. Also yesterday, the president brought up something that Wall Street is very anxious to hear about. That is tax reform.
We're in very good shape on tax reform. We have the concept of the plan. We're going to be announcing it very soon. But health care, we have to get the health care taken care of. And as soon as health care takes care of, we are going to march very quickly. You're going to watch. We're going to surprise you.
You know, that last comment from the president is crucial here because Wall Street, all of those huge gains that we've had in the markets have been based on tax reform, the promise in particular of corporate tax reform. If that gets delayed, and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin has kind of said it would be, that could be a big problem for investors. Back to you.
And a lot of the American workers are waiting for that as well. Thank you, Cheryl.
You bet.
Thanks, Cheryl. Well, now let's talk a little bit about the weather forecast. Spring is here. April is supposed to mean that April showers bring May flowers.
Meteorologist Adam Klotz is here tracking more heavy rain for parts of the country. Adam, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. A lot of showers stretching across the country. And then here on the East Coast, maybe a little bit of cooler air. Yesterday, we were waking up into the mid-50s. Today, look at this, New York City, 46 degrees. There's still some warmer air a little bit farther off to the west, and that's where we've been seeing a lot of that shower activity. Want to zoom in on a couple of places. The Mid-Atlantic, really the southeast, this large area there stretching from Georgia up into the Carolinas, areas where we're seeing, at least in places, very heavy rain here early this morning. Now, a larger system even farther off to the west, that's one we're going to be watching for later today, as this is going to be coming together, maybe even bringing us some severe thunderstorms for portions of the plains running into the Midwest. There's where that action is right now, just through the Kansas City up to the Omaha area. But as that continues to work a little farther off to the north later today, this is an area just off to the west of Chicago, so really getting into the Plain States, but drifting there eventually into the Midwest, an area where we could see some damaging wind, maybe even a few isolated tornadoes. When's the timing on this playing out? Well, here's your future radar, and you can see all this moisture lifting really late today, but then through the overnight hours into early Thursday morning. Guys, this is the next system we're really going to be watching here for the next 12 to 24 hours.
All right, well, it's been pretty perfect weather the last few days.
Yes.
Can't last forever.
And we'll check back with you in the next half hour, so thank you very much.
Adam.
Meantime, the time now is 10 minutes after the top of the hour, and drive-through delay. The McDonald's workers being praised for helping end the nationwide manhunt for the Facebook killer. We're live in Cleveland.
Students at Berkeley College setting American flags on fire and destroying their own campus. So why are police offering some... Welcome back to Fox and Friends First, about 15 minutes now after the hour. Well, police are praising a drive-through delay at a McDonald's for ending a nationwide hunt for the Facebook killer. This as Mark Zuckerberg finally breaks his silence about the gruesome video that was left up for hours. Peter Ducey is live for us in Cleveland with the very latest. Peter, good morning.
Good morning, Abby. The minute the so-called Facebook killer ordered McNuggets at a drive-thru one state away, a very brave McDonald's worker realized she needed to stall him until the police could get there. So she told Steve Stevens that his French fries weren't ready yet.
Basically just told him it was going to be a minute for his fries, which it wasn't really. We were just trying to make sure she got in contact with the state police. And he didn't want to wait for the fries, which was fine, but he took his 6-piece and didn't want any money back and headed out the minute he turned right on Buffalo Road. The state police was right behind him.
The McDonald's manager says Steve Stevens only made it 100 yards before Pennsylvania State Police were chasing him, and that's when the troopers say they attempted a pit maneuver where they try to make the suspect's car lose control by bumping into it. The maneuver was effective, but after spinning out of control, Steve Stevens was cornered, and that's when he shot himself in the head. Stevens was wanted for allegedly executing 74-year-old Robert Godwin Sr., then uploading the video to Facebook, and now Facebook's CEO says user safety is rising on the social network's list of priorities.
We have a full roadmap of products to help build groups and community, help build a more informed society, help keep our communities safe. And we have a lot more to do here. And we're reminded of this this week by the tragedy in Cleveland.
With the manhunt now over, investigators are going to try to figure out if anyone was helping Steve Stevens hide out for a few days and why he went from Cleveland to Erie, Pennsylvania, with the whole world looking for him. Heather?
Thank you so much, Peter. Appreciate it. Well, new overnight for you. We've been talking about this. Democrats and Republicans both claiming victory as Democrat Jon Ossoff fails to flip the 6th congressional district in Georgia, sending the race for a runoff. Now, this is just what Todd Starnes warned about in his new book, The Deplorables, Guide to Making America Great Again. So, how do conservatives have to mobilize now for the long haul? Here now with his take, Fox News radio host Todd Starnes. Todd, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
So we're going to have a little discussion with you today about this. And you were just telling me right before we came up that you have family ties to this area.
Yeah, that's right. The Starnes family, part of the Starnes family, lives in that area. Very conservative district. Always has been a Republican, a historically Republican district. That's why I'm very surprised by what happened. 11 Republicans running. What the heck were the Republicans thinking here?
Right.
It's like Republican leadership, and I'm really talking about Paul Ryan here. It's like they fell out of the stupid tree and hit every branch going down to the ground.
So, but what about Jon Ossoff himself?
Yeah.
Why do you think that he did so well when he doesn't even live in the district?
Doesn't live in the district and blame that on his girlfriend. That's a little bit of...
He's a medical student at Emory University.
Right, exactly. So a little sexism going there on the Democratic side. Plus, you've got the white privilege thing going on in the Democratic Party. This guy does not live in the district. He's a political novice, and yet he was able to do quite well. I mean, quite frankly, if you had a one-on-one race, he might have possibly pulled off an upset victory last night.
Because he had so much support from outside of Georgia, though. All of these celebrities and people getting involved.
But, Heather, it's not like the Republicans didn't know this was going to happen. They should have been prepared. And the reason why is what happened in Kansas just last week with Ron Estes. Again, that was Mike Pompeo's district. He won by 30 points. Estes won by 7 percentage points over a Bernie Sanders Democrat. Come on, Republicans. They've got to wake up here.
So the runoff will happen, what, June 20th,
That's right.
I believe. And do you think the Republicans can coalesce behind the candidate? Was Karen Handel?
They're going to have to, and this was a very ugly primary battle. And again, it demonstrates the lack of leadership in the party. And a lot of folks are trying to throw this on President Trump and saying it's a referendum on him.
So is it?
I don't believe it is.
Okay.
I believe this is a referendum on a do-nothing Republican Congress. That's what this is all about.
But is this a signal as to how Democrats will do moving forward? Because they say that it is.
Yes, and I believe them, and I think the Republicans ought to believe them as well. This is going to be the midterm elections. It's going to be nuclear, and the Republicans better start getting their act together right now. And if they don't, President Trump could be dealing with a Democratic majority in the House and the Senate.
But you blame that on the Republican leadership, not President Trump.
This is Speaker Ryan. Okay. They got to get it together.
All right. Well, we'll see if they can do that.
All right.
Thank you so much, Todd.
Thanks,
always love having you on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And Abby, what's coming up?
All right. Yeah, the time is now about 20 minutes after the hour. No mincing words. DHS Secretary John Kelly is firing back at the critics.
If lawmakers do not like the laws that we enforce, then they should have the courage and the skill to change those laws. Otherwise, they should shut up and support the men and women on the front lines.
Ooh, his stern message about criminal illegals before heading to the border. And a poor choice of words. Adidas forced to apologize for an email that set social media on fire. Don't miss Carly Shimkus with what is trending this morning. She is live in studio. Carly Shimkus.
Leave for saying that President Trump should be hanged, but social media says it's not enough.
Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7, Sirius XM 115, here with that backlash this morning. Carly, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, an outrage growing. A lot of people saying the punishment for that professor who called for the assassination of President Trump just is not enough, like you said. Fresno State University professor Lars Myshuk landed himself in hot water after sending out this tweet saying, to save American democracy, Trump must hang. The sooner and the higher, the better. Well, he actually initially defended that statement, calling himself the victim of a right-wing smear campaign. So will there be any consequences? Well, Fresno State has weighed in, placing that professor on paid leave for the rest of the spring semester, also saying he will be allowed to conduct off-campus research. A lot of people calling this just a little slap on the wrist. Let's look at some reaction. Echo tweeting, a person who professes hate and cannot and should not be a professor. He belongs in jail. And Duchess says that's hardly a punishment. Well, that professor has apologized, saying that he didn't expect anybody to see that tweet except a close circle of friends. That's a funny thing about social media. You put it out there, people are going to see it.
Yeah, don't ever expect that. Even if you delete it, you can still be found.
It's there.
It's always there. You're absolutely right.
So cultural appropriation. Explain what that is and what that has to do with this college campus and PC police.
Yeah, a fraternity at American University actually had to cancel a fundraising effort for a veterans group because administration was concerned that the name of the event would offend somebody. Now, the name that the fraternity chose, Badminton and Bougie, a play on the popular rap song Bad and Bougie, the fraternity president issued a statement saying, we were trying to plan a philanthropy event that incorporated a sport. We settled on badminton because we could use Mingo's Bad and Bougie as a play on words to generate buzz. Well, that fraternity was then sent an email by administration saying they cannot choose that, citing cultural appropriation. Now, since then, they had to cancel the event, but they have launched a GoFundMe page for that veterans charity, hoping to raise some money instead. What a shame, right?
It really is.
That is really a shame. All right, well, you got to think about your words. No matter what you say today, Adidas is now under some fire, apologizing for an email they sent out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Adidas upset a lot of people for sending out this email to runners saying, congrats, you survived the Boston Marathon. Yikes. A lot of people criticizing the company after receiving that. A mean runner said, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Hashtag boycott Adidas. And Jordan chimed in saying, wrong choice of words. Hashtag classless. Well, Adidas has issued an apology saying, we are incredibly sorry. Clearly, there was no thought given to the insensitive email subject line. Still, other people say that they understand where Adidas was coming from. This person chimed in saying, runners routinely say they survived a marathon. If they get through it, I'm a Bostonian all the way. There's nothing offensive about this. So Adidas facing a lot of backlash, but I got to say that marathon was amazingly inspirational in so many ways.
So
it was
discussing the images of the veterans crossing the
best part. I absolutely agree.
Carrying that woman across the line.
Amazing
We
stuff.
come back even stronger. Thank you, Carly.
Thanks a lot,
Carly. Well, coming up next.
Is now 27 after the hour. Impossible terror in Fresno, but not if you read the Associated Press.
The press is, of course, doing its best to downplay the likely motive for this attack. The AP reported the shooter shouted, quote, God is great. Of course, he did not shout that. He shouted Allahu Akbar.
Sure did. Social media having a field day after the media outlet changes the Fresno shooter's words.
As he guns down 3 people on the streets of Fresno.
But this morning, police are quick to say that it was not terror that motivated him to kill.
Jackie Banya is here with disturbing social media posts revealing new information about the shooter. Jackie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Abby and Heather. Chilling new details emerging about the man police say admitted to shooting and killing 3 white men in broad daylight. Social media accounts for Corey Ali Muhammad, you see him there painting a frightening picture, even foreshadowing his violent attack.
B, death and destruction, murder and mayhem. That's what you get when you're with me, you see.
Now, this post from March contains the phrase Allah Akbar. It's the same thing police say the gunman was shouting as he was arrested. However, investigators say the murderous rampage was racially motivated and not terrorism.
This is solely based on race. And it has nothing to do with terrorism, in spite of the statements that he made. He did clarify that the reason he had made that statement, in the event that anything did happen to him, that he was in fact pledging his allegiance to God for protection.
But as details continue to emerge, security official Jim Hansen says that's exactly what this is.
Hate crime is a miniature form of terrorism. You know, this guy was looking to create a black state. He was looking to kill white people, and he was doing so in the name of Allah. So you combine those things together. I don't care what particular terms you use. It is most certainly a form of terrorism.
Now, Muhammad firing 16 shots in just 2 minutes, starting by killing a passenger in a PG&E truck. Seconds later, he shoots and misses a man before killing another. He then reloads his revolver at a bus stop, shooting 2 people and killing 1. All 3 victims are white. Police had been searching for Muhammad since last Thursday when they say he killed a Motel 6 security guard. This morning, he's charged with 4 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Abby and Heather.
Just glad that all came to an end.
Yeah.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, Jackie.
Jackie, thank you.
Well, the Associated Press is sparking online outrage, removing the reference to Islam in their reporting of the attack. Tweeting this, Fresno police say suspect in triple slang told them he hates white people, shouted God is great before killings, never mentioning Allah Akbar. Well, Tucker Carlson calling the AP out for glossing over the truth.
The press is, of course, doing its best to downplay the likely motive for this attack. The AP reported the shooter shouted, quote, God is great. Of course, he did not shout that. He shouted Allahu Akbar. The language he used matters, and the Associated Press knows it matters. We don't want to be unfair, though. Maybe it will turn out he was a radicalized Methodist or an extremist Presbyterian or maybe even a Lutheran with a grudge.
Well, backlash to that tweet has been swift, as you can imagine. Conservative writer Stephen Miller noting how the AP is now a sponsored fact checker on Facebook, but posted blatant falsehood on social media. Bob Owens posting, once again, AP is lying. Allah Akbar is what he actually shouted. This was a lone wolf Muslim terror attack AP is trying to cover up. And Bell blasting the tweet saying, this is a new low for the AP. Hashtag fake news. This is why no one trusts you. He yelled, Allah Akbar, not God is great.
Well, the threat for terror attacks on the U.S. is greater today than it was on 9/11. Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly backing what James Comey has been saying for years, that plots to attack us are happening every single day.
The threats against us are relentless. Over the past few years, we've seen an unprecedented spike in homegrown terrorism. In the past 12 months alone, there have been 36 homegrown terrorist cases opened in 18 states.
Well, the secretary predicts advancing technology will eventually make homegrown terror impossible to detect, and that's certainly not good news. Being investigated in all 50 states.
Well, the Peach State is the apple of the political world's eye this morning due to a special congressional race that's getting some extra special attention from the White House.
Democrat Jon Ossoff failing to flip Georgia's 6th district, and now heading for a high-stakes runoff against Republican Karen Handel.
Griff Jenkins has the latest from Washington, D.C. this morning. Griff, good to see you.
Good morning.
Hey, Abby and Heather, you know, the old saying, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Well, he came within 2 points and raised north of $8 million, but 30-year-old Democratic newcomer Jon Ossoff failed to flip that seat that he hoped would not only be a big win in a deep red district, but also serve as a referendum on President Trump.
We have defied the odds. We have shattered expectations. There is no amount of dark money, super PAC, negative advertising that can overcome real grassroots energy like this. So bring it on.
And bring it on it has. At midnight, President Trump tweeting this reaction: despite major outside money, fake media support, and 11 Republican candidates, big R win with runoff in Georgia. Glad to be of help. Ossoff now heads into a runoff with Republican Karen Handel in a race that saw 11 GOP candidates, but now will only have one. Here's a look at those final numbers from last night. Ossoff had 48.1%, Handel 19.8%, Bob Gray 10.8%, and so on. Now Handel vowing to aggressively fight for a seat that has been held by Republicans since the Jimmy Carter days and once belonged to Newt Gingrich.
Tomorrow we start the campaign anew, and it is imperative that all of us as Republicans come together in unity and recognize that beating Ossoff and holding this seat that has such great legacy in Tom Price and Johnny Isakson rises above any one person, and that means all of us band together.
The race garnered national attention and national money. The majority of Ossoff's war chest came from out of state. Even Samuel L. Jackson made a cameo for him. The runoff will take place in June, guys.
Horseshoes and hand grenades. Like that quote.
Yeah.
And by the way, Handel will be on Fox and Friends a little later today at 8 o'clock. I want to sneak that in.
It's a great point. Look forward to that interview. Thank you, Griff.
Thank you, Griff. Well, the time now is about 20 minutes until the top of the hour, and newly confirmed Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch already shaking things up on his first day on the bench. The landmark church-state case that he's poised to take a swing at today, while our next guest says that she expects him to be just as American safety is at risk. DHS Secretary John Kelly and AG Jeff Sessions sounding the alarm about the dangers of criminal illegal aliens. Now, their urgent warning echoing President Trump, who blames Obama-era immigration policies for the rise of violent gangs.
But make no mistake, we are in fact a nation under attack. We are under attack from criminals who think their greed justifies raping young girls at knife point, dealing poison to our youth, or just killing some of us for fun. We're under attack from people who hate us, hate our freedoms, hate our laws, hate our values, hate the way we simply live our lives.
I don't think there's any doubt that the open border, the lawlessness that we've had, is a factor in the rise of this MS-13. With a good, lawful border, many of them would not be here. They've sent some of the most violent people who would never have cleared a proper visa situation, a visa process. They had crimes they've committed in El Salvador.
Well, tomorrow, Kelly and Sessions will visit the U.S.-Mexico border to monitor what's being done to boost security. And rioters who get arrested for violent and chaotic protests at Berkeley could be asking for it. The Berkeley Police Department offers something called symbolic arrest on their website. Now, protesters looking to make a political statement can call up police when they're planning an event and then schedule a time and a place to be picked up. Well, some on social media left outraged by the concept, but police say that those who get arrested face real charges. The Berkeley PD has reportedly not made a symbolic arrest in years.
Well, Justice Gorsuch taking on religious liberty in his first Supreme Court test, something he's been open about in the past.
Any sincerely held religious belief cannot be abridged by the government without a compelling reason, and even then it has to be narrowly tailored. Strict scrutiny, the highest legal standard known in American law.
Well, the court will hear arguments today on a case involving government funding for a church preschool. What impact could Justice Gorsuch have on that case? Here to weigh in, Carrie Kupek. She serves as legal counsel for the Alliance Defending Freedom. Carrie, good to have you here this morning.
Good morning, Abby.
All right, so you say it doesn't matter what religion the school is or the children are. What matters is them falling on the ground and getting hurt.
That's right. The safety of all children should matter to all of us. And Justice Gorsuch